All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. I hope everybody is staying safe and well during these crazy times. But today I'm excited to show you a few things that Appulate has been offering. And I'm going to give you guys a great demo of our system, some different options for MGAs and wholesalers, and then take some questions at the end. But again, thank you so much for joining. I'm John Yarbrough. I'm our carrier MGA wholesaler expert here at Appulate. And, again, we're going to be talking about primarily how to use Appulate as an MGA or wholesaler. Hopefully everybody is able to see my screen. You should be able to see it now. If not, please feel free to use the side panel to put a question in there or a note and let me know if there's any kind of problems. Seems like because of everything going on, everyone's using GoToMeeting and GoToWebinar and Zoom and all these things. So there have been a few little hiccups here and there and glitches. So hopefully today we won't see any of that. But if so, or if you can't hear me or something happens, please feel free to use that side panel question. And let me actually move to this. So if you're not familiar with this, feel free to use that little side panel to ask any questions. I'll have everybody muted and on hold today during this webinar, but we'll have an opportunity to do some questions at the end. Also throughout the webinar, feel free to ask some questions. I'll be periodically checking that to see if anybody's asking any questions or needs some clarification on anything. I promise I won't think you're rude, so go ahead and ask a question, put it in there. In any chance I get, I'll go in there and read that out and answer that for you. But let me go ahead and get started. So first we'll start off with who is Appulate. So for those of you who are new to Appulate, not familiar with who we are, what we do, maybe you've seen our name pop up here and there, maybe from some of your agents or carriers or some of the emails that I send out. But it's real simple. We're a technology company and we've been around for about 15 years or so. Actually, we just celebrated our 15th birthday about a month ago. And we started off as a forms parsing company where what we did is we moved data from core forms or agency management systems, transformed that data into something digestible. So industry standard XML is what we went with. This way we can transform this core data into XML. This can be used in so many different ways. And originally what we decided to do was to be able to have the agent give them the capability to move this data into whatever portal you may have. But we came across a huge number of MGAs, wholesalers, folks who may not have had some kind of portal put together, or you're interacting with a number of carrier portals, but you still want to ingest information from an agent. So we built an interface that allows us to do both. So today I'm going to go through really 3 different options on how we can do that and how we can approach these various solutions for different types of workflows. One of the things that I love about Appulate is I think that we're very adaptive. We know that one size doesn't fit all. A lot of our solutions are more geared towards trying to standardize things and make things very simple for the agent. But of course, everybody's got a different workflow using different carriers, all kinds of different stuff. So I think that our platform is very, again, adaptive, but allows you to kind of plug and play a number of different things. So of course, today I'm going to go through kind of everything at a high level. But what I'll suggest is that at some point, if this is something that you're interested in or you want to dive into this a little bit deeper, get on the phone with me. Let's talk about it because there's certainly a lot that our system does. And I'll go through a lot of these options today. But to kind of talk a little bit more about who we are and what we do, of course, we automate most of the submission process for really anybody in the industry. We're focused on the submission process, so we're not an agency management system. We're not a policy admin system. We're really a platform that sits in between everything, allowing agents to interact with their markets in a very streamlined, standardized way that's very, very simple. So since inception, our list of agents has grown tremendously. Right now, we service about 80% of the industry. So most of the agents that you're probably dealing with have either heard of Appulate or they're interacting with us in some capacity. And not everybody uses us the same way or for the same lines of business, but they certainly use us quite a bit. In fact, we have about 17,000 submissions processed each month. It's just continuously growing, and month after month, year after year, we have more logins, more usage than I think anybody else out there with a platform like this. So a lot of times especially MGAs and wholesalers. There's a number of reasons why somebody would want to come on board with Appulate. I think that honestly, MGAs and wholesalers tend to get probably the biggest benefit out of Appulate because you're streamlining and automating two different processes. One of them is trying to get information in from the agent, and then of course outputting that information into whatever carrier portals you may use. So no matter what that process looks like, we're able to automate that. We're able to at least minimize or completely get rid of any kind of redundant keystrokes or data entry. So you don't have to outsource data entry anywhere else. You don't have to have somebody sitting there keying things in. We can take an Accord form, we can transform that into data in a matter of seconds. We can bridge that data to whatever system you're using. We can also bridge this data over to carrier portals. And then of course our system, which we're going to be going through today, as well as some of these other things we're talking about, gives you the platform so that you can do all of that in one spot if you don't already have any of those things built. So of course I'm not going to read through all this, but everybody will get a copy of this if you'd like. I'll also send out a video recording of this to everybody on this list. So if you have to drop off or something happens, of course I would love to schedule a call with you. We can go through this a little bit more detailed, but this will be up on our YouTube channel, and I'll send an email with a link with that either today or tomorrow. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the stuff we're doing, and I'm going to give some examples of these workflows to kind of illustrate what we're talking about today. But again, I told you we've been around for about 15 years. That's a long time in this space for a tech company like ours. I think Appulate was one of the first, if not the first, companies to really do some type of standardized forms parsing for the insurance industry. So no one else has really had the amount of time that Appulate has had. We certainly have the largest network of agents in the country. So if you're interested in either a portal that is utilized and works properly, or is accepted by a large number of agents, we're certainly a good option. Also, if you're trying to increase distribution, so if you've got a program or you're just trying to increase submission activity, that is one reason why a lot of folks will come on board with Appulate. But of course, at the end of the day, we're a technology company, and a lot of this rests in your products and programs, but we will make the process a lot easier for your agents to deal with you. So we do have about 240, I think it's past 250,000 users at this point. That's about 30,000 or so agencies. According to some third-party studies, that's about 80% of all retail agents in the country. Not all of them use it exactly the same. Of course, some use it a lot more frequently than others, but we do have a very high usage rate. We've got about, just to kind of give you an idea, 80,000 of those agents are subscribed to our email list. And these are people who actually go in and subscribe to these email lists to understand which news comes from which kind of partners we're bringing on board, what kind of programs are available in our system, that sort of thing. So we have probably about 5 different ways that an agent can subscribe to our email blast, whether it's tech updates or whatever, Appulate news. But 80,000 of them are subscribed to understand about new products and programs. And this is very important because, again, if your goal is to increase distribution, you're trying to get your products and programs out to the masses, there's just not a bigger list of agents out there. And this is a very clean list that we've been doing email marketing to for about 4 or 5 years consistently. So we have almost a non-existent unsubscribe and spam rate. These folks are very, very active. And typically with our emails, so we're well above industry standard as far as click rates and open rates. That's kind of a separate discussion. Of course, today we're not going into distribution as much. I do have a presentation coming up on that, so feel free to check that out. I'll put some links in the email that I'll send out. So I said we have about 17,000 submissions a month. That's growing, and about 140% average new market selection. And what that is agents, after we do a webinar or we put out an email blast or whatever, you'll have a lot of agents go into our system and select markets to work with. So every agent in our system has the ability to look up markets, use our market directory to find new MGAs, carriers to work with. And of course, not all of them can get an appointment with some of these carriers, so that's where you guys come in. And we have a lot of tools to make you a lot more accessible by these agents. So 140% basically month after month, we have more and more agents going in, selecting new markets to work with. They find that Appulate's a very easy process to work in. They like our interface a whole lot. We reach out to these agents, spend a lot of time understanding what their needs are, what they're trying to accomplish, and we build our system around that. We build our system around agents because, of course, if we can make this easier for them, they're more likely to submit to you. And then, of course, the 240% average submission count increase is typically for any MGA wholesaler that comes into our system. I've been able to statistically prove that you're more likely to have a submission increase just by being within our system because of the reasons I just mentioned. A lot of agents, the feedback that we get from them is they get frustrated that every time they go to a new carrier or MGA, they have to learn a whole new process. They have to learn a whole new portal. So we standardize that process regardless of if it's your portal or ours or whatever it may be. We make this process very streamlined and simple. Once an agent is in this system, they don't really want to deal with anybody else unless they're using our system, unless they really have to. So we get a lot of feedback like that. And of course, it's why more and more MGAs, wholesalers, and carriers come on board. So let me go ahead and move forward to what we're going to be talking about today, which is something kind of new that I've developed over the last year, which is to try to create more affordable options for MGAs and wholesalers. Not everybody has the same kind of budget. Of course, not everybody has the same kind of needs. So again, regardless of where you're at, I didn't want our system to just be compatible with whatever your technology is, but I also want our system to be compatible with whatever your budget may be. So this may be something that is scalable. So for instance, there's a way that you could start within our system, do a number of things to increase automation within your workflows just internally, to a full-blown system where we're doing all kinds of cool stuff. So I have MGAs and wholesalers in our system doing all of these things. So to kind of describe what we're going to go through today, and to not try to throw too much terminology at you, the first one here, A to X, which is just a chord to XML. This is what I described before. All we're doing is we're taking an Accord form, turning it into XML data, which we can send wherever you'd like. So some folks use this internally. They'll have agents email them Accord forms. They can hit a button, that data transforms and now goes into your policy admin system, goes into your portal, or it goes into our system, which you're more than welcome to use. A lot of our system are able to do a lot of stuff within our system, especially with carriers who have already licensed our products. Any of our carriers who license our products, and I'll show you how to get to a list of those just right from our website, offer the ability to use our system at no cost. So there is a portion of our system that you could use right now. You could hop off this webinar, go log into Appulate, and you'll see that technology is available to you right now. That's how it is for our agents. So if you wanted to use it as really kind of an agent just to submit data going forward to our partnered markets, you could do that. But I've added another little piece here, which is WebLink. So what that is our data bridge that moves data from within Appulate to an external carrier portal that we may not be working with. So let's say you go through our list and you say, okay, look, we got 4 carriers that have already licensed Appulate, so you could use those for free. You could use those right away. I can also build out an integration with a carrier portal we may not be working with, and it's actually very cost effective. It's not very expensive to set that up. Relatively inexpensive. We can build that out for really any line of business, any carrier that is reasonably up to date on their technology. We can bridge that data over very easily. So that's really internal use only. This is really kind of bare bones. Let's get you working kind of as an upgraded agent, essentially. Now, option 2 combines that A to X capabilities with a simple portal. So because we've worked with so many carriers over so many lines of business, we generally understand what kind of information may be needed. So we can set up a portal in such a way that an agent can go into our system, interact with you, get really the basic information, some data validation about name, address, zip code, payroll, just some very basic things. And then again, that is now converted into XML, which you can digest into either a back-end system or utilize our system to then distribute quotes and move things to those external carriers like we were talking about. The last option is really full blown, and then it can just kind of continue from there. So this last option will combine a number of these things with a more custom portal that has a smart questionnaire, appetite guide built into it. We're able to do a lot of things. And actually, let me just go to the next slides so you can kind of see what this looks like. I've got some illustrations here. So the first one I was talking about, again, we're going from agency management system or an Accord form through Appulate and then into your system or to your carrier portals. The second option, this utilizes our portal with those basic questions. Of course, we've got a lot of other features in there with reports, and we can automate the appointment process for your agents. We've got e-signature, all these things which are automatically going to be included. And then our last one, which is going to include a ton of stuff. Again, appetite guide, smart questionnaire, you'll see all this stuff today. Instant indications we can build into our system, reports, appointments, signature. We've built out a ton of stuff in here, and actually I think on the next slide, yeah, here we go. We've built out API integrations with folks. So a lot of times carriers will do this, but we've had a number of MGAs who've developed APIs. We build those into our system so we can do full rate quote bind. We of course can move XML to your portal. We can ingest email submissions, or you can send email submissions. Our system does create all the Accord forms or supplementals you would need. We can do hybrid solutions. So for instance, we brought in Hiscox, and they will utilize our system for certain parts of the process, and then in binding, the agent will then go to Hiscox Now portal to complete that. So we can do a lot of kind of hybrid type stuff. We've worked with Imperial Premium Finance Solutions to offer premium financing within our system, so that's available to you. So we've got a lot of kind of interesting things in here, and of course we've got OCR as well. So OCR, which is optical character recognition, allows you to ingest scanned Accord forms. So if someone is faxing you or sending you a scanned Accord form, we can still ingest that, and we use a machine learning software to do that so that you can validate that data as it comes in. All of these things I'm just kind of throwing up here so that you can see how much other stuff we can do, because I'm not going to be going into all of this today. But if one of these pieces is something that you're really looking for, let's definitely hop on a call and we can dig into that. So let's jump right into it so I can show you exactly what this looks like. So you should see an Accord form now. And what I'm going to do is, hang on a second, let me make sure that you are seeing my screen. You should be seeing an Accord form right now. If someone would be so kind to go into the question panel and just verify that you can see this, I would really appreciate it, because again, there have been some bugs with everybody using this kind of system at the same time. So if somebody wouldn't mind, just go to your side panel where you can ask a question and just type in there that just somebody confirm that you can see this or not. Okay, someone has see it. All right, awesome. It looks like a bunch of people are seeing it. Someone was mentioning they couldn't see it. You may have to just double check how you're logged in. Make sure that you're on a computer or even on your phone logged in through the link. You should be able to see it. All right, so let's hop back into this. If you have more trouble and you're not able to do it, feel free, you can hop off. We can do another demo at some point, or you can watch the recording of this. Both will allow you to see what we're seeing. So I'm going to start with an Accord form. In this demo, we're going to do a few different things. So again, I'm just kind of opening up this whole bag of tools so you can see everything that's available. Definitely don't want to confuse you too much. This will be why it's great to get on the call. We can kind of go into specifically your needs. But you'll be able to see all three of these right now. So I'm going to start as an agent. And my goal is I want to submit to an MGA in Appulate. That's it. I want to take this Accord form that I have, move the data off of it. I don't want to do any redundant keystrokes. I want to know if Gold Apple Nursery is going to meet the criteria of an MGA I'm looking for. I want to know what kind of questions I need to answer and go through the whole process. So we can do this a number of ways. Now, of course, this first part of this demo, I'm acting as an agent. So that first part of that I mentioned, that the kind of the cheapest option would be exactly this. You could take an Accord form. This could be something an agent emails you or something that you have. What we'll be able to do is just hit the print button. Our Uplink software, which is our tool to move data from any agency management system out there or any Accord form out there, it's called Uplink. We download that as a print driver. takes about a minute to get all that set up. You'll log in and it'll save your credentials. So all you have to do is hit send. And now it's going to open up Appulate and just verify that we're doing this particular line of business. Let me bring this forward. There we go. So yeah, we're doing workers' comp, so it's got that correct. If I were doing another line of business, I'd be able to select that here and hit continue. And now from here, there's a couple things we can do. So directly from here, if you have a portal that you want to take an agent to, or let's say you are the agent in this case, and all you want to do is send it to some sort of carrier, some external portal, we would have that ability to do that right here. So you can go direct from that Accord Form Agency Management System directly into that portal. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'll select Arrowhead Staging. Now we're converting all of that into XML, and I'm going to hit send. And now this is what you would actually see. So we can hit click here. We would have already stored your login credentials. Everything would have already been set up ahead of time so that it automatically logs you in, bridges over all that data, and now you would work through this portal just like you do every day. Now, this process, again, can be implemented for the agent to go directly into your portal, or we can build this out for any carrier that you'd like or system that you're using in the back end. We would supply that XML. You can map it out however you'd like, and we're done. And on our side, we would map this out for your carrier portals if you'd like. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to do this again, and now this time we're going to go into the Appulate system, and we're going to assume that you want to use the Appulate portal. So the first demo is very simple, very straightforward. All we're doing is moving data to your system. In this case, now we're moving it into Appulate system. So they would hit continue and bypass the screen, landing directly in the Appulate portal, just like this. So now we see all the data has been mapped out. This is our interface. So everybody's would really look exactly like this, of course, for that standardization to keep things consistent. So an agent would go through here and they can just verify this information. They can add any additional information they'd like. But the first thing they really want to do is add you as a market. So I'm going to pick my fake wholesaler MGA here. And the first thing you'll see is right underneath the name, we've got a number of different carriers here. And there's some check boxes, which I could walk through as an agent, selecting and unselecting these carriers. And there's a couple reasons to do this. So the first reason is, of course, you could show off who you have for transparency. So you could offer this ability to your agents. This is a setting in the back end, so you can toggle this back and forth anytime you'd like. You can add, subtract markets for them to see, totally customized and on your end, so you always have control over that. But there's a practical reason to do this as well. Every time I select or unselect one of these carriers here, it's letting my MGA know that I don't necessarily need you to submit to this carrier. It also adjusts my questionnaire. So down here, we'll see a lot of required questions marked with those red asterisks. We've got numbers next to each section in the questionnaire, which shows us how many questions we have left. And we call that a smart questionnaire because it adapts based on a few different things. The first thing it's going to adapt based on is your requirements. You can break those requirements down for every single carrier that we have here. You can utilize what we already have in place. So for instance, for workers' comp, AmTrust or Employers, one of these, we've already integrated with their API. We know exactly what kind of requirements, what kind of questions they need answered, what kind of documents they may need answered, if it fits their appetite guide or not. We've got all of that already built in. So you're extending that now to the agent. So as the agent, I can see that I'm working with you, who is Westlake GA, and I can select and unselect these various markets, which will adapt my questionnaire. Also, the data that I put in here will adapt that as well. So let's say, even if AmTrust takes a restaurant risk in Texas, but maybe you don't, yours will override that, right? So we'll build your appetite guide in here, and we'll be able to let the agent know right away, hey, this doesn't meet this appetite guide, or based on the answer to a particular question, we can let you know that, hey, this is something we may not take or may go directly to underwriting. And an agent's going to know that by just looking at this little letter indication on the right-hand side. They're either going to see A for accepted, D for declined, or the letter U for manual underwriting is needed. So in this case, we've got an A for Encino. So everything's meeting this appetite guide here. And we need a few questions answered, and we need some loss runs. Now I've got a D for declined up here for this particular MGA, and it tells me the reason. So just pause here real quick. This is such a cool spot. This is probably my favorite thing in the whole system. You know, not to do the grand finale right now, but I mean, this kind of is. I mean, this is the whole thing. If an agent within 30 seconds uploads this Accord form and this data, they can know so much about you and these markets you're working with right away. So there's just an incredible amount of transparency and a lot of information in their hands. And you can imagine that that makes agents very, very happy. So there's no more back and forth needed. I don't, as an agent, have to give you a call and ask you, hey, will you take this trucking risk in Texas? I can upload this information within seconds, know if this is something you're willing to take, if I've been blocked, what kind of questions need to be answered, all kinds of stuff right away. So I can go ahead and start interacting with this. I've, of course, used this Accord form before, so I'm going to change this FEIN. All right. And that should change it right away if I can pick a new number. There we go. So now it's showing up as accepted. And now we just need to walk through this, answering any of these required questions. I can do it section by section. I can also hover over this, click any of these questions, it takes me right to it. And of course, I'm showing you this for a couple reasons, because you may be using this yourself with a carrier. And of course, you want to make sure that this process is easy for agents. So either way, no matter how you're using this, very, very simple process, a lot of quick functions here so that you can walk through this questionnaire very simple. The other thing you can do is you can also send a questionnaire. By the way, this is part of the free version. So what I can do is, if let's say you had an agent email you an Accord form, you could upload this. You could generate requirements, like required questions only in all sections for this particular carrier. Hit OK. And it's going to put together an email template with a link on it, which is basically whoever receives this, whether it's the insured or the agent or whoever, they can click that link. They don't have to log into Appulate or do anything, but they're going to go to a web page, which is going to have the questions that you've selected here. So in this case, I think there are 2 or 3 questions that need to be answered. So it can send those questions over to that agent. As soon as they answer it, it uploads in real time. So you're going to see all of those questions. So again, nobody has to do any kind of data entry. This is a super cool tool, and it can be configured to your mail server, so it all comes from you and responds to you directly, so you don't have to worry about Appulate necessarily monitoring or being a middleman or anything like that. It goes directly into the system. Everything's all done. I say free because a lot of these pieces of the software are free, but it's free to use with folks who we've licensed this with. So that's how Appulate makes our money, right? So we license the software out to either you or your carriers. If we've got this license with our carrier, boom, it's all ready for you to use. And there's a number of features we can add on to that at very minimal cost. Or of course, we can build this whole thing out. It's still very cost effective, by the way, and you get a ton of value for it. I've put this side by side with a number of competitors and systems. First of all, no one's been doing this as long as we have. Nobody's got as many integrations as we do. And I think our product offering just goes way beyond what a lot of folks offer. Anyways, I'm gonna stop bragging about it, but I'll go through this here and I can answer any remaining questions. Let's say I don't answer this question correctly. I hit no instead of yes. Right away, it triggers that need for referral to underwriting. I can see exactly why that happened, and it tells me exactly the reason. So I can go right to that and address this question if I need to. So I can go through this, finish out these questions, and it looks like the only thing I have left is loss runs. So let me make this a little smaller here. And I've got some fake loss runs in here. And all I have to do is just drag and drop that in. And we can do that for any kind of document, loss history, whatever it may be. And that will fulfill the requirements. As you see now, it's a green A. So let's say we've got another scenario. We can build this out any number of ways. Like the owner has only had 6 months experience. It's a brand new company, so you need a resume or bio on the owner. you can require that, and these things will trigger based on whatever if-then scenarios that you require. So this is how we're automating the underwriting process. So then it would tell them you need to upload this document. They can upload that, tag it appropriately, and now they're all done. So that's a very simple process. And of course, in the background, like I mentioned, any kind of supplemental forms or accord forms that may be needed are being completed in the background. So if you do need to create that for one of your carriers or something internally, let's say, so Westlake GA, this MGA I'm working with, has their own supplemental form, we can build those in here so that we pull questions off of this and complete these supplementals in the background. And even cooler, everything is working together. So if I changed full-time employees to 16 instead of 18, that's going to update everywhere else on all the forms and in the questionnaire. So we can now see that that's been updated all in real time. If they've already submitted to you and have made changes like this, it'll notify you and will tell you exactly how these changes have happened. Appulate is full of reports, and everything is tracked, time-stamped, user-stamped, and can be viewed under either each insured or kind of overall. So we can see right here who's been working on this, what's been done, and when was it done. So of course we track all of that as well. All right, so I'm going to go back here and quit talking about all this stuff. We need to get this thing submitted. So I have completed all the questions, uploaded loss runs, everything is correct, everything's been accepted. I now have an instant premium indication, which actually showed up the minute that I uploaded all this information and has changed based on the information that I've put in. But if you do have some type of rating calculator, whether that's via API or in an Excel sheet, it makes no difference. We've got a rating platform here that we built, so we can put in these indications. So if you did want to put some pricing here, we can certainly do that. We've built this out for a number of different carriers, ones that we work with and don't work with, so that you guys can have access to that information within our system. So I'll escape this here, and now I want to actually submit to this market. Now this is where, again, it depends on what your capabilities are, what kind of workflow you want. All of this workflow is customized. In this case, Westlake GA is offering to do an instant quote. So when I hit submit, right away, we should see an instant quote pop up underneath that particular carrier. So right now I've got this proposal, which I can click on, download, send to my insured, and hopefully get signed. So this agent has received this proposal instantly. We can also build out an appointment process at any stage of this. So a lot of folks will allow the agent to go through, at least see what kind of questions need to be answered, if this meets their appetite guide or not, what the numbers look like, even receive an instant quote before even getting appointed. It's just a great way to allow agents to search for you. But you can change that. It's completely up to you. We have the binding process in here as well. So if you do want to build out a binding process within Appulate, you can certainly do that. And of course, we can build in our signature process. So it's all Adobe eSign, very easy to use. I'm sure everybody here has used it at some point or another. It's legally binding, and it gives the agent the ability to sign these right on their computers, tablets, smartphones, whatever they may be using. So right away, I can get all that signed, complete. Some folks, a lot of MGAs will have a lot of this built out where it's at a minimum, the questionnaire, the appetite guide, that gives the agent the ability to get all the information to you. You don't have to necessarily do an instant quote. We have a lot of MGAs and wholesalers very successfully using Appulate just to capture this data, export this to a back-end rating system, reporting system, policy admin system, whatever it may be that you're maybe using, and then creating a quote in that, uploading this quote directly in the system, which notifies the agent, and then they're happy. Because of the speed of all of this, there's really no reason that you wouldn't be able to turn around a quote very quickly. So let's say, you don't have the instant quoting capabilities. You have to send this out to 5 or 6 different carrier portals. Again, that process is very, very quick as well. This first one I showed you with Arrowhead, that's a good example of somebody who is a partner of ours, but still has an external portal. We do have some of those, and we can connect to those, of course, at no cost. But if we need to build something out for you, let's say I'll use AmTrust. AmTrust is a partner of ours, but they have let us use their portal as a web link testing, which is very cool of them. So if I hit submit, this is what it would look like for a carrier portal that we have not partnered with. We can still build this out, and we use WebLink, which is a browser plugin, which allows the system to automatically log you in. By the way, I'm not even touching the computer at this point. It's just automatically logging in, taking me to this portal. And it's using a browser plugin, kind of like an autofill feature. So if you've ever been in a form, you start typing your name and it starts populating. That's basically what we're doing here. So when I hit create new, I'll step away again. We should see all this information start populating within here. There we go. Awesome. Yeah, that works great. So we're able to get all this data that was in Appulate system, bridged over to this carrier portal, and now we can just go through this portal like we normally would every day, just not having to key in any information twice. So that's pretty much it. So, again, I wanted to kind of go through this very high level, show you all of these tools, and let you know that regardless of what your budget may be, what your workflow would be, these tools are very good tools. There's a lot of value in them. Just because some things aren't at a cost doesn't mean somebody's not paying for them or they're not worth a lot. I mean, there's certainly a ton of tools in here that we've already built out, have licensed with a number of carriers, and gives you the ability to utilize all of this great technology. If you go right to our website, I can show you our market directory. So let me hop over here. So if you go to Producer Connect, right from our homepage at appulate.com, scroll down to Key Features, and then go to Appulate Market Directory. This is a great tool. You can search for any line of business. So we were doing workers' comp, so I'll go here to workers' comp. And right away, we can see all of the markets that have some sort of integration with Appulate. Anybody that shows standard or green over here, those come at no cost. They've already licensed this software and they want you to submit to them. So there are a number of carriers on here that have done that. You'll also see these upgrades, which are web links that we've already built. So we already have this connectivity to their portal. This would be something that you would have to license. But again, very cost effective. We'll have folks that come on board. I had an MGA build this out for 15 different carriers just recently. So we're able to build all those out to those various portals. So now they're inside of Appulate, ingesting ACORD forms via email or through some sort of portal that we've built with them. They take that information and now can spit that out to all 15 of those carriers really in no time. So, again, major time savings with all that. So feel free to work through this list. If you want to connect with me on any of that, feel free. Let me hop back over to my presentation. Let me open that up here. Okay, so a few things I wanted to go through before we hop off the call. And again, feel free to throw some questions on there. If you have any questions, we can always go back into the system and take a look at this. But we've got about, I think, 15, 20 minutes before it kicks me off of here. So I'll go through some more really cool information. So each year I like to do a study of our agents, because the most important thing about this whole process is to understand our agents. We want to know what it is that they're submitting, how frequent are they submitting, what are they looking for. All of this stuff matters a whole lot. And it would be silly to have such a huge network without understanding these things. So Appulate continuously monitors the data in our system to try to get a better understanding of all of these things, so we can develop better expectations for you. So the last survey I did, we were trying to understand these agents a little bit better. So in this screen, we're looking at the top things. So basically, the top things that they want to see from a carrier MGA. So that's on the left-hand side. And this is very cool because right away, in those top 10, I'd say probably 5 of those Appulate solves. So being able to have fast quote turnaround. We offer a lot of personal touch and service, but of course they still want that from their carriers and MGAs, especially MGAs. The ability to quote online, which we give them instant quotes, we give them multiple offers and quotes, which we saw we can do in our system. And then of course an automated process. So all of those things are immediately solved within our system. And this is why we look at these relationships as partnerships. So we understand that, good technology doesn't solve everything. So a lot of times I'll get a question of, how many submissions can I expect by, spending all this money to create this awesome process? Well, I know that it's going to increase efficiencies. I know it's going to save a lot of time and money just in resources alone. But of course, submission activity should increase by being available on a platform like this in front of so many agents. Of course, we can expect that you should see some type of uptick in submission activity. However, if you've got some crazy program that pays 0% commission and your personal touch is very aggressive and not very friendly, then we're obviously not going to see a huge uptick in submission activity. But we also have a lot of resources where, if you want to get in front of these agents, we want to do webinars, training, put your programs out there. We love sending out emails, letting these agents know that your stuff is there. If you're able to interact with these agents, you're friendly, you've got good products and programs, that's what's going to really drive these agents to want to use this technology. Once they're in here using this technology, we know that they're going to be happy and they're going to continue to use it, which makes these agents a lot stickier. So on the right-hand side, just to, again, continue to be transparent and guide expectations properly, I wanted to show you kind of the top classes that are written and top classes they would want to write more of. Now, we have a lot of these stats in our system, but of course, what better way than to just ask the agent? Because a lot of times, if I pull up data in our system and I say, wow, workers' comp looks great, but over here, this program, I don't know, we don't really have a lot of agents submitting to it. It doesn't mean they don't want to. It just means that it may not be available. So a lot of folks, MGAs or program administrators that have some type of niche program, those do go well in our system. And a lot of times agents are able to use the data they already have in their system to then bridge that over and start on another line of business. So they may be doing a workers' comp policy, and now they want to add, flood insurance, commercial flood insurance, for instance. They can do that by just literally hitting a button, and now all that data bridges over to a new line of business where they can interact with you with minimal data entry. Same for you as well. So let me go ahead and move forward. Again, you guys can receive all this. I'm more than happy to share it. Which lines of business do you write on a regular basis? Now, the interesting thing about this, and not to make anybody dizzy, but let's hop back real quick. If you notice, things wanted from an MGA carrier, the top 10, very high hit ratio here, and then after that, it kind of drops off pretty quickly. Same thing with classes of business. Seems like pretty consistently there's a top 10, and then there's a drop off. But right away with the lines of business, it's amazing how broad of a spectrum agents interact with different lines. And of course, this is not necessarily surprising. Agents like to write a lot of different things. But now they're in a system where they have all this data in a system. They're using the system. A lot of them are even paying for the system. We have a lot of agents paying for our system because we have developed additional tools that they can, of course, license as well. So I don't know any other providers out there who have an agent portal that agents pay for. It's pretty awesome. But they're looking for more markets to deal with. So if you see something on here, you write these lines of business, and you're kind of curious whether or not an agent is looking for this, I think we have a good case here for that. So, feel free to take a look through this. And you can also compare this to our market directory to see what's available. Maybe you will be one of the few MGAs in a line of business that's offering something, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. On the agent side, or even really on a forward direction for an MGA side, there's a ton of time saved, which translates to money, right? Because of course, resources. One of the things in the top 10 that an agent really wants from their market is personal touch and service. And what better way to offer that than to, reallocate some of your resources internally. So on average, each agent seems to be submitting about 40 or so submissions a month. So conservatively, I just moved that to 40. Average time saved, we got all kinds of responses here from 15, 20 minutes on up to hours and even days. So I pulled an average and then brought that down to be conservative. So if they saved about 37 minutes per submission, 40 submissions a month, that translates to about 25 hours a month. If this agent is making about $50,000 a year, then this agency is saving about $7,000 a month in time. And that's huge. And just, I know it sounds pretty big, but let me put it this way. So if I give you 100 accord forms to process, how fast could you do that? I know that, for people who outsource data entry, it could take about a day. to get all that stuff done and back in the system. For somebody to manually key that in, it could take a couple of days. I know I can do it in about 5 to 10 minutes at the most, checking the data. So, I mean, it's a click of a button, all that stuff is done. So that's where that time savings really is. And data entry is huge. There's a lot of companies that sell a lot of ways for you to save time during the data entry process. One of the interesting things is that a lot of competitors of ours will actually use Appulate technology during that process. So, if you're walking through this and you said, yeah, I love this portal, but I want my own thing. I don't want to be part of any of the stuff in the Appulate system. I want to build my own, or I already have my own. Totally fine. A lot of providers sell these customized portals or have built them for a lot of our customers, and then implement Appulate technology for the uplink process of that, moving it from agency management systems and Accord forms in, because I don't think anybody does that better than Appulate. But yeah, so very cool. And then to throw some more information here, we've put a lot of resources into outreach to these agents. We wanted to be a more substantial partnership when bringing on folks like you. We're not one of these companies that builds something and just leaves it and says, here you go, good luck. You've licensed it, it's built. We'll talk to you in a year or two. We don't do that. We spend a lot of time with you, as much time as you want. If you want to be left alone to do your own thing, we can do that. If you want to spend a little bit more time with us in trying to reach these agents, we have a lot of resources for that. Licensing our whole portal allows you to do so much more within our system. We want to get your programs and products out to these folks. We want agents using our system. So we thought this would be a great way to kind of meet in the middle. And since we've done that in 2016, our usage, logins, markets being selected, all of these things have increased tremendously. And we can see that off of these graphs. And here's the reason. I mean, this is stuff we do. So we've got our email blasts that go out. 80,000 subscribe to that. We build landing pages so people can understand your products and programs. We can even help with some of that. We do have that market directory so they can go right in and see who's available for each line of business. We have user groups who meet somewhat regularly to interact with some of our outreach team to understand what kind of issues are they facing, what kind of things do they like, what kind of things do they not like. If you have a program, you don't have any agents, it's brand new, we do have these user groups available to pilot and test these things out, so we can test out this process before releasing it out to everybody. So we try to do a lot of these things to, again, make sure that you have some good peace of mind, you know that the system is working properly, and then agents the feedback is very good from them. We do a lot of webinars with partners, co-hosted, so that you can come on board, talk about your products and programs, and then somebody from our team will take the agent through, show them how to access that, how to use our technology, just like we did today, so they understand exactly how to do that. We do a lot of personal outreach. I talked about our premium version, which has been released over the last couple of years. We've built a lot of tools, very agent specific, like automating loss run requests and broker of record requests, a ton of stuff like this. Basically, a lot more automation, a lot more access to new markets, and they do actually license portions of Appulate so that they can utilize that. We have a blog on our site, social media, YouTube, online training, training on demand. All of these things really, really great. Gives the agent the ability to learn everything they need to know. Of course, it's accessible to you or anybody else who wants to go into the system and check it out, or go to YouTube and check that out. Also, just gives your products and programs a whole lot more exposure if that's what you're looking for. So how do we get started? Of course, like I've said, I'm sure a few times now, let's schedule a call. That's the most important thing. Let's hop on a call, talk about what you're trying to accomplish and the best way to do that. My goal is to find the best way to do that. The way that we sell our products, it goes through a contract typically. It's at least several years long, so we can amortize the pricing, make this a little bit easier to get into, and then sustainable for the long term. I want to make sure we find something that fits you specifically. This is not about trying to make as much money as we can, but about keeping you as long as we can, and trying to find a system and process that works best for you, so that our agents are happy. We'll go through that. We'll decide what that scope of work looks like, what makes the most sense. Then I can put together a proposal, show you what our pricing is. We'll go through a contract, and then implementation. I love our implementation team. They're amazing. We have so many folks. We have hundreds of engineers on staff who are really dedicated to get this stuff out as quickly and cleanly as possible. Typically, a simple, like a portal implementation for a single line of business can be anywhere from 60 to 90 days. It's extremely quick. Most of this stuff is already built. It's already all done. We don't have to build out the Accord forms. We already have done that. We don't need to build out for agency management systems. We've already done that. We've already done the majority of the work. So it's a matter of getting together, customizing the workflow, making sure we have everything in the system, and then testing it, make sure everything works properly, maybe even piloting this with some agents. And by the end of it, that should take a few months, and then we should have something ready to roll out. And there you go. Then you can be an Appulate rock star. So here's my information. Again, I'm going to send out an email. You probably already got an email from me. You can schedule time directly right within my signature line on every one of my emails. I put that in there. You click on that link. It shows you my calendar. Pick any time that suits you, and we can hop on a call, discuss whatever you'd like to discuss. Of course, you can give me a call, but the best way is to go through my calendar or shoot me an email, and we can find a time. But that's it for now. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to throw those questions in there. I haven't seen any come through as we were going through the demo, which I'm going to decide is a good sign. But I'll stay on here for a few more minutes to see if anybody has any questions. If not, I certainly appreciate everyone's time. I hope that this was very helpful and gave you some good insight to our system. So here we go. We got a question. What is the email to contact for a new business relationship? So that's me. So feel free to just shoot me an email. My email is right at the bottom, jyarbrough@appulate.com. You can also just email sales@appulate.com, but please describe what you're trying to do, because we have several different specialists on staff. So if it would fit somebody else better, I can make sure that they get in contact with you. But yeah, just be specific about what type of company you are and how you'd like to use Appulate. That would be very helpful. Or we can just hop on a call and figure that out together. But my email is right down there. And I'll shoot out an email to everybody who joined us as well, so you'll have that. Any other questions? Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Hope everybody stays safe and well. And I'll look forward to talking to you. Hopefully, I can get on the phone with some of you guys that were joining today. I would love to know how we could help you out. Thank you so much.